Hello YouTube and welcome back to another Dare to Game video. Today we're playing Mount & Blade Bannerlord, specifically the Eagle Rising mod, and we're going to be going over the top 10 best husbands in the game based on how good of a steward they are. So these will be the available spouses at the very beginning of the game that are male and are good at being a steward. So they'll have a high stewardship skill, maybe high trade, charm, possibly tactics. Those are all the things that we take into account for this, but it's primarily how good of a steward they are. So let's just dive on in and we'll get started. And so to get started finding anyone in this game, this is how you do it. You pop into your encyclopedia and you do that by pressing N, and then you go to heroes, and then you can filter it down. And so since we're looking for husband, we're going to want male and alive, because those are pretty important for marrying someone. We need them to be a lord/lady, and then not married. And then we can narrow it down by the culture they are, and our first culture is going to be Dryadic. And we're going to be looking at ERDURAND of the BURI. And so he takes our number 10 spot, and at the beginning of the game he is 27, so he's on the slightly older side, but it doesn't make a huge difference for a couple reasons. One of which being that's still plenty young, and the other one being the male doesn't have the babies, so that's pretty easy. So he also starts with a trade skill of 82, charm of 60, steward of 101, tactics of 140, leadership of 140, combat of 210, and that highest combat skill for him is in the polearm, one-handed and two-handed, so it's split across three things. He also starts with pretty good armor and weapons, and he has three traits starting up. Daring, which is valor 1, cruel, which is mercy -1, and impulsive, which is calculating -1. All in all, pretty solid husband if you're looking for someone out of Dryatia, or a Dryadic spouse in general. So ERDURAND is a good option for that. But he's number 10, let's move on to number 9. At number 9, we've got yet another Dryatian. This one is AMORCON of the BURI. So same clan as the last one, which makes sense considering we're dealing with an extremely powerful clan in Dryatia. And we have AMORCON. This one with the advantage here is that he's significantly younger. Starting off the game at age 18 with a trade skill of 80, charm of 60, steward of 102, tactics of 60, leadership of 60, and his highest combat skill is 120, and he has that in polearm, one-handed and two-handed. So he's younger than ERDURAND, who is his brother, which is good if you want a spouse that you're going to be married to for longer. He does start out with two traits, close-fisted, which is generosity 1, and honest, which is honor 1. But he does start off with really good armor and weapons. His stats are pretty dang good across the board. He's a better steward than his brother, although a slightly inferior warrior starting off. But AMORCON definitely makes a really, really good option if you're looking for a Dryadic spouse, and that's why he takes the number 9 spot. Alright, at number 8 we have SANION of the LUCRETII, and he's an imperial spouse. He starts off the game at age 23 with a trade skill of 81, charm of 60, steward of 102, tactics of 80, leadership of 80, and his highest combat skill is level 260, and he has that in polearms. But the rest of his stats, as you can see displayed there, are all pretty dang solid. And so he is part of the LUCRETII clan, with Oros being his father. He has three traits starting off: daring, which is valor 1, merciful, which is mercy 1, and impulsive, which is calculating -1. And he of course starts off with nice high level, really well protective imperial armor. And so whether or not you're marrying him just to steal his armor or because you want a genuinely good governor for a spouse, SANION does do a good job at it, so he takes the number 8 spot on this list. At number 7, we've got another imperial spouse, VINCANTIOS of the SERVILII. And he is, of course, like I said, from the SERVILII clan, so a lesser known one in the Western Empire. He starts off the game at age 24 with a trade skill of 82, charm of 60, steward of 102, tactics of 120, leadership of 120, and his highest combat skill is level 210. And he once again has that split amongst polearm, one-handed, and two-handed. So obviously really, really good stats here, starting off at a kind of a good, happy medium ground age for 24, so definitely still quite young and will be able to be your husband for a really long time. And he does start off with really good, really comprehensive armor. This is some of the best imperial armor you can get, and it protects him, or potentially you if you want to take it from him, really well. Only thing you got to deal with is his terrible haircut. He does start off with three traits: close-fisted, which is generosity -1, daring, which is valor 1, and impulsive, which is calculating -1. But VINCANTIOS is a pretty dang solid option, especially for an imperial spouse, and that's why he takes the number 7 spot. At number 6, we've got another Dryatian spouse, and once again another member of the BURI clan, and he is ALARY of the BURI, so the brother of ERDURAND and AMORCON, definitely from a large powerful family, as you may be noticing from this list so far. He starts the game at the age of 26 with a trade skill of 102, charm of 80, steward of 120, tactics of 100, leadership of 100, and his highest combat skill is 210, and he has that in polearm, one-handed, and two-handed. So obviously a really good steward here, but also, you know, going to be really good across the board at everything else, especially combat. He starts off with nice, high-level, really good protection, armor, good weapons, not nearly as goofy of a haircut as our last spouse we looked at, and three traits. The first one being close-fisted, which is generosity -1, cruel, mercy -1, and calculating, so calculating 1. So on the bright side, he's not impulsive, which is always good. And for all of of those reasons, he does take the number 6 spot on this list. At number 5, we've got our first one from the Kitsith Republic of the Konnik Nahasi culture. We've got MEYIR of the AZARETH DAYON, and he starts the game at age 21 with a trade skill of 102, charm skill of 100, steward of 120, tactics of 120, leadership of 120, and his highest combat skill is level 190, and he has that in polearm. And of course, the rest of his combat skills are not far behind. So this is a fun one because it's our first one from the southern portion of the map, some might say with some of the most interesting armor available, and he of course comes pretty well equipped, so he is either A, another good target for stealing their armor, or B, you're just not going to have to worry about him because it protects him rather well. He starts off with 3 attributes, the first one being generous, which is generosity 1, the second being honest, which is honor 1, and the third being cruel, which is mercy -1. So MEYIR is definitely a pretty solid option, you know, that should be signified by him taking the number 5 spot, but there's nothing real too terrible about him as far as stewards are concerned. So let's move on to number 4. At number 4, we've got another Imperial spouse, ARION of the JUNII. And so you can see that he is a bit younger, starting the game at age 19 with a trade skill of 102, charm of 100, steward of 120, tactics of 140, leadership of 140, and a combat skill, his highest combat skill being 150. And he has that in polearm, one-handed, and two-handed. Like I said, he is rather young, and he's actually also quite short, but he does start with really good armor and weapons, like is the case with most high-level Imperial spouses. He is part of the Northern Imperium, so from the Northern Empire, his father being Arcor, and he starts with 3 traits: close-fisted, which is generosity -1, honest, which is honor 1, and cruel, which is mercy -1. So definitely not the most upstanding, gentlemanly type husband you could get, but he's got real good stats and is young enough to really grow into the role. So that is ARION, who takes the number 4 spot. Let's move on to number 3. At number 3, we yet again have another Empire spouse, and this one is ACHIOS of the MENENII. And so he is from the Western Imperium and is right in that middle ground for age, starting the game at age 25 with a trade skill of 101, charm of 140, steward of 120, tactics of 160, leadership of 160, and his highest combat skill is 180. And like most of the people on this list, he shares that between polearm, one-handed, and two-handed. And of course, like always, the rest of his combat skills are not far behind. He also, like most Imperial spouses, has some of the best armor in the game starting off, so great stuff for protecting himself or you if you want to rob him of it. And he starts the game with 2 traits: generous, which is generosity 1, and cruel, which is mercy -1. So that's all there is to say about ACHIOS, and he takes the number 3 spot. At number 2, we've got our last Imperial spouse for this list, TEMION, and he is from the CLAUDI clan, and also part of the Southern Imperium, so now we've had at least one from each branch of the Empire. He starts the game at age 25 with a trade skill of 100, charm of 180, steward of 122, tactics of 140, leadership of 140, and his highest combat skill is level 170, and he has that in the polearm. So a pretty solid option all across the board, definitely really good governing stats. Of course, he also has really good high-level armor, so again, not saying steal the armor from him, but it's definitely an option. He does start off with 3 positive traits and 1 negative trait. He has generous, which is generosity 1, devious, which is honor -1, daring, which is valor 1, and calculating, which is of course calculating 1. I think TEMION makes a really good option. He's definitely one of the best spouses available in the game, and he takes the number 2 spot for the best stewards. Finally, at number 1 for this list, we have a Botani spouse, and that is SIARAMUS of the SEGUSINI, and he is, of course, like I said, from Botania. And he starts the game at age 24 with a trade skill of 122, charm of 120, steward of 142, making him the highest for that skill, tactics of 140, leadership of 140, and his highest combat skills are 210, and he has those in polearm, one-handed, and two-handed, so a little predictable there. Honestly, really, really great spouse, especially if you're looking for a Botanian. He only has 1 trait, and it's calculating, so no negative traits and a good positive trait. He also starts off with pretty dang good armor. It obviously could be better, but for Botanian armor, it's actually pretty top tier. So there's really nothing bad to say about SIARAMUS. He's a really, really good spouse, has nothing negative about him, and is young enough to really grow into someone powerful. So if you're looking for a good steward, he does take the number 1 spot. And that is all 10 of our best steward husbands for the Eagle Rising mod. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful, but that's all for today, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching another Dare to Game video. If you liked this video, please leave a like and a comment. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like my content and would like to support this channel, consider becoming a member today for as little as $1.99 a month. It makes a huge difference. But in any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day. I'll see you next time.